Welcome everyone, I'm Rebecca and thanks for coming to our June and very hot monthly meetup for the Flock XR community. Now the first section is recorded for YouTube and then we stop recording to have a chat at the end. And now I am going to hand over to Tracy for some project highlights.
Thanks Rebecca, and yes, it is indeed very hot today. So each month I highlight some of my favourite projects. And this month has a games focus. So Liz has made an awesome tile game. And that's something I hadn't seen in Flock XR before. And I love those fresh summer colours, very, very appropriate. And then on the right, Nicki Cooper wrote a brilliant blog post about Flock XR, which you should definitely check out. She explains that she remakes classics like Pacman, so she doesn't have to think about what to create at the same time as learning new software. And that's a really good tactic. We kind of use that in the classroom where we try and do things that are familiar to young people so that they're not having to think about what project is at the same time as learning Flock. And then we've been making great progress on our grant from NLnet. So Laura Sach joined the project as a developer and she got up to speed really quickly. Thanks, Laura. And we have keyboard controls implemented for Blockly blocks and the user interface. So shout out to Danny Watson. He's our lived experience consultant and he's given us loads of ideas and feedback to make the keyboard controls better for everyone. And we're currently working on mobile and touchscreen improvements. So thanks to Rebecca and our digital schoolhouse user testers in Belfast last week. And over to Liz.
Cheers, Tracy. Okay, so feature spotlight. So I've got two features as usual, and this is the first one. So this one is importing and exporting snippets. So the video that's running through on the slides now shows how easy it is to import code snippets into Flock XR projects, and it's a feature that I've been using more and more. So for example, if I have one project with a particular color scheme that I really like and I want to use it again in a different project, then I will export the snippet and then import it into my new project. So the use case in the video is from last week. So Tracy and I were creating sculptures in Flock XR. So Tracy exported her snippet by right-clicking in the code area and selecting export snippet. Saved it to our shared drive, and then I right-clicked on my code area, selected import snippet, a little bit of adjusting to get the position exactly how I wanted it in my world, but basically now I have a project with two sculptures in it. So I think this feature is going to be really great for when you want consistency across your projects, but also for doing really creative collaborative projects as well. And then the second feature I want to highlight is the VR block. So it's not something I've played with too much before, but you can find it in the scene category in the Flock XR toolbox. And when you add it to your project, you can then enter your world in a VR headset. So I created an interactive project where objects react to being clicked, saved it in my GitHub account, and then I loaded it in the VR built-in web browser, and then I was just transported into my Flock XR world. So I use the controllers to click on the different objects and watch what happened. So in the case of the video, we have dialogue coming up, animations and movement, particle effects, lots of different things. I particularly like the plane flying overhead and just watching that on repeat. So this is my first VR project, so I'm really keen to use Flock XR for VR and explore a little bit more. And then next, I just want to quickly remind you that we build Flock XR in public. So if you're interested in following along with the NLnet work that Tracy mentioned earlier, it's release 2 and it can be accessed from flockxr.com and the About menu and then choosing versions. And here you can also find release 0. So if you're feeling a little nostalgic or you've got an old project that you want to open up, that's the place you go to do it. Okay, and now I'm going to hand over to Rebecca to talk about what's next in the world of Flock XR.
Thank you. Well, it's kind of what next and what happened last week. So last week, we were very ahead of schedule and launched our full Coding 3D World curriculum. So it was meant to launch properly in September, but we just got on it and we got it out there. So we now have units of work for all the way from year 3 or stage 3 to year 9, which is fantastic. And you can find out more about this on our website, and we will add the link to the description in the video And here is a rundown of each unit, just in case you haven't explored that yet. So we start with year 3 or stage 3, where learners take their first steps in 3D. So they're familiarising themselves with dragging and dropping blocks, and also adding objects to their scenes and changing the size, position, colour. And then towards the end, they explore physics and the when clicked events as well to make things happen in their scenes. And then in stage 4, they move on to animations and repetition. So starting with repetition in animations before they create their own repeat loops and use them to add multiple objects to the scene, which is always quite fun. Stage 5 was the focus is selection through creating a variety of interactive experiences. Stage 6, they move on more into variables. They learn how to use sensible variable names and then create their own and use them for things like changing the speed of a vehicle or counting over time. And then in year 7, there's a bit of a rapid recap of the main concepts before they move into controlling characters and building their first character control games. And then they really, in year 8, deep dive into some common game mechanics that you would see in normal games that you play. And then finally in stage 9, they work on game design and thinking like a game designer. So they're given a prototype every lesson, and then they spend time building the prototypes out to improve things like level design, gameplay, and game feel. And that is a really, really fun one. I really enjoyed teaching that as the last part of the Coding 3D Worlds path. It was very fun. So it's been a really big project over the last year, developing, refining and teaching it in our pilot schools. Thank you to all our pilot schools. So it was nice to finally complete it, and I hope that you all enjoy teaching it as much as I did. And I've put the magazine there on the screen because that's your reminder that if you do register as a reader, you get 20% off our units. So for example, if you bought the secondary bundle, which is £99.99, you'd actually get it for about 80 quid for 3 units. And they include direct to learner videos. So we think that is pretty good value if you do want to use some tried and tested resources in your classroom. And before we move on to the Q&A, I wanted to remind you of the 3 ways to stay up to date on all things Flock XR. We have a mailing list, and a newsletter goes out quite regularly, about once a month, and it's always quite nice to see. I never know what's going to be on it because Liz makes it, and it's always nice to read that through and see what's on it. We've also got our fabulous Discord community, which you can go on and ask questions and share things that you've been doing. And then obviously our meetups, which you're seeing right now. And the community is growing, and we'd love you to be a part of it. So now, for anyone catching up with this meeting on YouTube, this concludes the recorded part of the session, but why not attend the July session live for the opportunity to stay and talk to other educators in the Flock XR community. And we'll add the sign up link for that in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone.